The Middle East woke to the deafening roar of explosions as Israeli fighter jets tore through the skies over Beirut. Their target, the very heart of Hezbollah. The date was 1 week prior to today's date, and the world watched in horror as the conflict, long simmering, finally boiled over. Among the casualties was Hassan Nasrallah, the charismatic yet controversial leader of Hezbollah. His death, confirmed by both Israeli and Hezbollah sources, sent shockwaves through the region. Nasrallah, a figure both revered and reviled, had been the face of Hezbollah for decades, his fiery rhetoric shaping the group's ideology and actions. The precision strikes targeting key Hezbollah infrastructure and command centers marked a significant escalation in the conflict. Hospitals overflowed with the wounded, the air thick with the smell of smoke and the cries of mourning families. Beirut, once a vibrant hub, was now a city under siege, its residents reeling from the sudden and devastating attack. The world held its breath, watching and waiting for the inevitable response. The death of Nasrallah, a pivotal figure in the intricate dance between Israel and Hezbollah, had thrown the region into a state of dangerous uncertainty. From Tehran, the response was swift and furious. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader and a staunch supporter of Hezbollah, took to the airwaves. His voice, normally measured and calm, shook with barely suppressed rage. "This act of cowardice, this blatant aggression will not go unanswered," he declared, his words sending a chill down the spines of those who understood their weight. Khamenei, a figure of immense religious and political power, was not given to idle threats. He mourned Nasrallah as a martyr, a hero who had fallen defending Islam against the Zionist enemy. The message was clear. Iran stood shoulder to shoulder with Hezbollah, ready to offer whatever support was necessary to exact revenge. The specter of a wider regional conflict, a fear that had long haunted the Middle East, suddenly felt all too real. With Iran's unwavering support, Hezbollah, now fueled by the desire for vengeance, was poised to strike back. Israel, for its part, wasted no time in justifying its actions. Prime Minister Netanyahu, speaking from a secure location, argued that the strikes were not an act of aggression, but rather a necessary act of self-defense. Hezbollah, Netanyahu claimed, had been planning a major attack on Israel, an attack that would have resulted in the deaths of countless innocent civilians. The airstrikes, he argued, were a preemptive measure, a decisive blow against a dangerous and unpredictable enemy. He pointed to Hezbollah's vast arsenal of rockets, many supplied by Iran, and their history of launching attacks on Israeli soil. Hezbollah, designated a terrorist organization by Israel and many Western countries, posed an existential threat that could no longer be tolerated. The international community, while acknowledging Israel's right to defend itself, remained deeply skeptical. The strikes, many argued, were a disproportionate response, a dangerous escalation that risked igniting a wider conflagration. Section 4, Hezbollah responds. A storm of rockets rains down on Israel. As the dust settled on the smoldering ruins of their Beirut strongholds, Hezbollah made good on their promise of retaliation. Rockets, hundreds of them, arced across the border, raining down on towns and cities in northern Israel. The eerie wail of air raid sirens shattered the night, forcing people to scramble for shelter. Schools and businesses were closed, replaced by bomb shelters and makeshift medical centers. The fear, palpable and immediate, was a stark reminder of the human cost of the escalating conflict. While most of the rockets were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome defense system, some managed to get through, striking homes, businesses, and military installations. The casualty count, while significantly lower than in Beirut, served as a grim testament to Hezbollah's determination and capabilities. The message was clear. Hezbollah, despite suffering a significant blow, was far from defeated. They would not be cowed by Israeli aggression, and they were willing to inflict pain in return. Section 5, The World Reacts, a chorus of condemnation and pleas for peace. The international community, caught in the middle of the escalating conflict, reacted with a mixture of condemnation and concern. The United Nations Security Council, convened for an emergency session, called for an immediate ceasefire and a return to dialogue. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, found itself in a difficult position. While expressing support for Israel's right to defend itself, the Biden administration also voiced concern over the civilian casualties and urged restraint. The European Union, echoing the UN's call for de-escalation, offered to mediate between the warring parties. However, with tensions running high and neither side willing to back down, the prospects for a swift and peaceful resolution seemed increasingly unlikely. The world watched with bated breath, hoping that cooler heads would prevail. The alternative, a full-blown regional war with potentially catastrophic consequences, was too terrifying to contemplate. Section 6, a region on edge, the long shadow of the Great Hezbollah War. As the fighting raged on, the world grappled with the implications of what was quickly becoming known as the Great Hezbollah War. The conflict, with its roots in decades of animosity and mistrust, threatened to destabilize an already volatile region. The risk of the conflict spreading, drawing in regional and global powers, was a constant worry. Iran, with its unwavering support for Hezbollah, loomed large, its potential involvement a nightmare scenario for Israel and its allies. The humanitarian crisis, already dire, threatened to spiral out of control. Thousands were displaced, their homes destroyed, their lives upended by the relentless cycle of violence. The physical and psychological scars of the conflict would likely take generations to heal. The Great Hezbollah War, regardless of its eventual outcome, had already left an indelible mark on the Middle East. It served as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace, the enduring power of ancient hatreds, and the human cost of conflict.